Racing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaw.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Aloma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett low. 4 wide at the stripe. For all his work here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
All right, welcome back everybody to the SimSpeed Tuesday night Chocolate Club Days, proudly supported by Liquid Action, Cook Straight Crossings, and obviously KartSport New Zealand's usual partners with Giltrap Group and what have you. So great to be back there, team. Obviously joining myself in the commentary box, we've got Simon Evans all the way from Auckland, live and raw coming out of Auckland. Dave Serra joining us from Australia as well, and we've also got Tiff Chittenden down there in the social media hub. Welcome back, team.
Mate, thank you very much.
Simon, are you with us tonight?
No, we've lost him, all right. So looks like it's going to be down to us three heavy hitters here with Tony and Tiff tonight. So we're at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut in the USA tonight. So we've got the MX-5s once again. So we're going to be going through the last of our practice session this evening before we head into qualifying. And then we've got 2 races up for us tonight.
Perfect. And you'll see we've got our Lime Rock Park visuals up there. So a nice track map there for you. Simple little track. It's going to provide a lot of action. I think certainly will be really well suited to the MX-5. Really good one-make racing circuit based in Connecticut in the USA. And we've obviously got a total of 12 corners there. And I think it's going to make for some really exciting racing this evening. Really looking forward to it. Yeah,
for sure. Obviously, the MX-5's been a really close category for us over the last few weeks as well. In the Lime Rock Park, it's only shortened this evening, but it's going to produce some very close racing. Obviously, with that reverse grid second race as well, that's going to sort of throw a bit of a spanner in the works whether some people go all out in the first race. Or as we've seen from some of our sort of celebrity and supercar races, if you're having a bad race 1, you try and almost abort race 1 to get the better starting position for race 2 as well.
Yep, that's right, Dave. And we've obviously got our usual stars that have been competing every week and featuring in those sort of top 6. But hopefully we might see a bit of a mix-up with the track configuration. Everyone's well adapted to the cars now. And I must say, actually, I had my first iRacing experience last weekend there, guys. And I can't say it's, like I said, I'm pretty old and I really, really struggle with it. So full credit to everyone out there that's steering these cars. I reckon the steering wheel that I was using needed to be like 100mm bigger in diameter because I really struggled. But it was certainly a bit of humour and full credit to all the drivers because I've actually seen how hard it is from the driver's seat, and it's no easy task, I tell you.
So, mate, did you throw some gloves at it like Greg Murphy did last night? I saw Neil Crompton's got the boots on. What was your strategy behind driving on the simulator?
So I literally just had like a swan dry on and a beanie because it was quite cold down here. And just went at it, and I was sweating like a pig, mate. Like the force feedback that comes through the Logitech wheel I was using, it's only like 1 Newton meter in measurement. That's why I reckon the steering wheel needs to be bigger because I really, really struggle with it. But to be fair, I'm pretty much a washed-up driver these days, so it's certainly don't use me as an account of how hard the game is. It's really, really impressive, and it gives you a really good understanding about how well these guys are going at the front of the field, and actually everyone through the whole entry list.
No, that's good. That's good. So we're going to run on board a lap here with Zach Blinko. He's currently the pace setter with the 1015. He's made away down the Sam Posse straight, going through the big bend. As we're following on board now, he's going to go through the S's. We're just on track with him now, following him through these turns. He looks like he's slowing down and he just had a crash. That's perfect. So great way to end the practice session on that note. Thanks very much for following that track map with us. It's going to be for a good night, it looks like.
Thanks for your input there, Zach. We'll keep that in mind when we come to the race. So obviously, as we said, we've got Tiff joining us in the social media side of things. You're pretty excited for a big night in there, Tiff, hopefully?
Yeah, good fun. So I've actually got some actual real life chocolate fish to give away. So if people jump on the Facebook page and ask some questions on the live feed, I'll give the questions to you guys. You can answer them, or just any comments in general. Any questions about KartSport getting back on track? Obviously, some of the tracks opened last weekend. I think Hamilton and Christchurch especially. So any questions on that, any comments? We've got some, not that Dave and I know too much about chocolate fish because I think it's a Kiwi thing, but yeah, we've got some Cadbury's have come on board as a sponsor this week. So yeah, some actual chocolate fish to give away. So get asking some questions and we can mention you on air.
Excellent. That's fantastic. So thanks to obviously people that have put the hard work in to get Cadbury on board and to make it a real Simon. And yeah, we've just had heard that Simon Evans is going to be joining us back. So speaking of chocolate fish, welcome back, Simon.
Yeah, good to be back, guys. Sorry, just some technical difficulties at my end. Just had to get my dog to sort it out, but I'm not that tech savvy. But all on track now. Good to be back for another. Hey, these MX-5s are all awesome, so can't wait to see who can come to the pointy end again. Obviously got a few different servers up tonight, and that top obviously server streaming, and that's what it.
No, good stuff, Simon. Great chat, mate. Thanks again for joining us.
Yeah.
So
Better
we're
late
going
than
to
never.
we'll go on board here with a Lascom car that we've got in front of us. So it's great to see the liveries popping up from with Chester Baccaris. I think it's Hayden. Is it who's driving? I'm pretty sure it's Hayden actually driving. So be good to see. Obviously, we've got Carter's on the side of this car and Lascom. So some of the big supporters of KartSport New Zealand. It's great to see them helping us out with this iRacing platform as well. So 12.5 minutes remaining. Still very on this qualifying session. No one's really set a benchmark lap time just yet. We're going to be looking for the low 101s. Is going to be sort of towards that top end of the qualifying session.
Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on that top 6 and see who pops up. Obviously, there, lads. As I said, having had a run on the iRacing platform last weekend for the first time myself in the MX-5, you certainly did notice how the big difference between a cold and a hot tyre run. So very typical to what we'd see in a normal vehicle in a normal race format. You will see the time start to drop at the end, because you certainly did notice when I had a go on the game last week actually how slippery the car was on a cold tyre, even considering it is quite small in horsepower. So certainly a lot of fun to drive. You can really feel the car moving around underneath you, especially if you've got a good force feedback wheel. And so we'll keep an eye on those times as the tyre temp comes up. The drivers get their eye on. We'll keep an eye on what's going to happen with that top 6 as we see young Hayden Baccaris, the Junior Max driver from Auckland, going to pole, then dropping back down again. We can see our big changes coming here, boys.
Yeah, obviously everyone's saying to get the first laps now. Obviously, one thing to remember is you can't actually drop a wheel off the circuit, because that will actually disallow the lap time. So even though you might be on a good run, you're dropping that wheel at that time. But so I just want to go back to what you were talking about before about the force feed. You'd actually you don't actually have the biggest arms. I mean, taken for toothpicks. So that's probably why you're struggling with that 1 Newton meters of force.
It's fair. I'll agree, mate. I'm not pushing concrete around every day for nothing. I'm actually trying to build my arms up for iRacing specifically. So hopefully, once I grow up to be a big boy and I get on the solids, I actually might be able to steer one of these things. We'll see what happens, eh?
That sounds like a great idea. But how cool is this? Tony Kart livery, or everyone's saying to embrace, the chassis that they run here. Don't often see the purple wheels, so that's obviously a nice little combination there. Matches the helmet, and we jump on board now of the this MX-5. Dave, how's your week been in Aussie, mate? Plenty of talk about our.
Yeah, look, I saw on the earlier servers there was a couple of Australian drivers taking part tonight. So obviously, if they make it through to the final and into the fastest group, it'd be good to be chatting to some of the Australian drivers who are taking part tonight. So that's pretty cool. From a karting point of view, we've seen some tracks in Melbourne just start to open up again. So really positive signs. And like I said, it's really glad to see that some karts are getting back to some normality and people are having some fun again. So I think New Zealand's going to be quiet soon in regards to getting back to the track. I think they've got about 10 people allowance for the racetracks with some coaches as well, if you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, very much. As we've just seen young Regan X have an absolute massive moment there in the 99 Tony Kart livery there. He had a massive Scandi flick just going down the straight section there, so he's managed to put the thing in the fence and hold escape and get back to the pits. That's the great thing about iRacing, is you have a massive moment, you've got that escape button there to get yourself back to pit lane. Makes things a lot easier, doesn't it? So yeah, obviously, as you mentioned, Dave, slowly working through all the legislation on what we can and can't do as far as a sport actually at the racetrack in person goes. You could sort of get into a bit of a political debate about it. Personally, I think most of us think the government may have got it wrong, because it's every sport manages itself in different ways, and certainly we aren't rugby. We aren't rugby league. We're not a contact sport. We certainly can manage ourselves very well. So certainly the way the legislation's working at the moment probably doesn't suit us, but hopefully the government can sort of start to see that as we go along. So As we sort of 8 minutes from the end of our qualifying session here, team. Zach Blinko, P1 at the moment. Young Hayden Baccaris, the junior max driver out of Auckland. They're doing a great job. Sam Dunstall, P3. Braden Snowden, the Whangarei driver from up north. And Paul Dowding. So we've got a few new names. Corey Green, good to see him back out there. The Wayne Phipps entry, that'll be young Aston Phipps out of Auckland. Just moved up to junior max over the lockdown. Obviously, no Vortex Mini Rock racing over the past couple of weeks, so they've made the jump up to junior max. So yeah, we've got some seniors running with some juniors once again. Really good to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a unique experience, isn't it? Watching, being a young kid, watching older people on the track and actually getting an opportunity to go hammer and tog with them online is such a cool thing. And obviously, I think Ashton Phipps is probably a third generation racer or so, Tony. So it's great to see, KartSport is such a good family sport. It's good to see old, grandparents getting involved who've been. I remember obviously the Phipps from when I was karting. So it's great to see. It's really heading down the old generations. But looks like with Sam Dunstall has just gone to the top on a 1 minute 1.5. So just only 300s ahead of Zach Blinko there. So really tight again. And I don't think this is going to be end of the lead change with 7 minutes remaining there, Dave.
Obviously, it's really close to see. We've got the top 12 cars all within a second as well. So this is just in our one service. So it's going to be very, very tight to get into the main race tonight, which is really cool to see on this track. I was just looking at the turn 2 and 3 S's complex. It sort of reminds me of Hamilton a little bit, where you can ride those curbs. So the MX-5s are sort of lifting the inside wheel as they go over those inside curbs as well. So it's kind of getting that karting feel back into it.
Yeah, for sure. And certainly from when I actually got to experience the game last weekend, you can run a curb and you can feel a lot of attitude through the force feedback. So it's not just running a curb, you don't feel anything through the car. It does affect the car. The car actually rotates quite well. Sometimes you can actually over rotate the car, which I found out on a number of occasions if you do grab too much curb. So they are sensitive to how much of the excess of the track that you use. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that, especially when you come into some of these faster sections. Really great illustration here. We can see through the right, left, right, how much attitude the cars have got as they start to use it with the curb their side.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think this track as well, I actually drove on the circuit the other week, just on a general hosted race, and it's actually, as we go into the final straight here, it's actually quite a long straight. Probably won't see, we might actually see some drafting take place down into turn 1. But actually turn 1 in itself is quite, she tightens up. So it's quite open coming in here. You get to about here, it tightens back up on itself. So you can carry a lot of speed in, but you're going to have a lot of steering lock on and braking at the same time. Up through turn 2 here, you can use all the track if you want, but then again, out of the circuit for the next right-hander, turn 3, using all out. Even though this is obviously a couple of little kinks down here, it's full throttle for the crucial corner. Going through the curves here, getting a nice run over them, because it actually comes uphill, and with a car that doesn't have a lot of horsepower, like the little Mazdas that we're going, you actually find there, 1 or 2 kilometers out of the chicane, you'll probably be, 3 or 4 towards the top of the hill. And then this final section of the circuit is relatively straightforward and flat down the hill, but you still want to be using scrub as possible on the steering wheel. So great circuit here. I think we're racing. The key for the racing is just going to be trying, which is going to be very hard, Dave.
Yeah, look, obviously with that SS section then leading into the uphill part, is it a bit more of a sort of a slower in and then trying to get the exit? Is that where the time's going to be found? Or is it going to be the driver who's going to attack the entry to that chicane where the time's going to be found?
I think you're definitely going to have to slow it up beforehand, because if you do attack it too hard and you get the curb wrong, you're going to be so vulnerable, because as soon as you go out of here, you're actually full throttle right the way up, basically down into the start-finish line. So you're probably better up to slow up that entry and make sure you really carry all that speed all the way down through the hill.
No, that's good to see. Like I said, the times are starting to drop down now. Sam Dunstall setting the benchmark lap time, as we can see, a 1:01.3. We're riding on board here with Corey Green. He's been one of our front runners very, very consistently over the course of this series. At the moment, he's struggling a little bit down in P7, 6/10 off the pace. So with 3 minutes left remaining, he's going to be trying to drive that Sody Kart livery as fast as he can to try and get a banker lap time happening.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to watch Corey's progress, because he's always sort of been there or thereabouts. Hasn't quite made the podium in our evening events so far, but he's always been there or thereabouts. And obviously, the Tauranga-based driver, Corey's still quite young, a lot more tech savvy than a lot of us older guys, and that sort of shows with him, his driving ability behind the wheel on the sim style of things here. So really cool to have Simon obviously talk us through the lap layout, having personally driven the track. Certainly a couple of sections there very similar to the back section, a couple of big fast corners like what we've got at the bend at Adelaide there, Dave. So some really, really cool layouts, and I think it will reward the type of driver that is able to carry speed, but at the same time still try and minimise, bring that braking zone down as short as possible, and make those late apexes look like there's a lot of corners here that really require a late apex. And as we jump on board with Graham Smythe here, so cool to see Graham Smythe. Graham's one of our top KZ2 drivers here, been around KartSport for a long time, done a lot of race car stuff, a really, really talented drifter as well too, and an amazing fabricator as well too. So Graham, very talented in most things that he turns his hand at. So cool to have him joining us this evening, Si.
Yeah, I did a lot of racing against Graham. Coming up through. I know he's spent a bit of time on the iRacing, not too sure about MX5, but I know a bit of dirt stuff. I was in a midget race with him last night and was very fast there. So looks like he's a little bit late to the service. So it'll be interesting to see how far he can, like any qualifying, all you need is one lap, and that's the good thing about it. It's an open session, so I'm trying to, get a low fuel load on, and we've still got a minute 18 left in the session. Probably with these guys here, but looks like he's just lifted off. So very experienced racer, and I'm sure we'll see him at the pointy end come the end of the qualifying.
For sure. Well, at least he's got a good benchmark in front of him. Now that Sam Dunstall is actually the car in front of him, he's the quickest car on the track at the moment. So Graham's got a great sort of a side aim in front of him. So if you can keep with close proximity to him, he's going to be up towards that front end of the field as well. Like you said, Graham's a very, very experienced KZ driver. So the MX5 shouldn't come at too much sort of speed for him. It's just coming to grips with this simulation and going from dirt racing one night into the sort of sedan racing the next night's going to be a little bit tougher for him.
Yeah, his track position's perfect, Dave. So if we keep an eye on him for this lap, I think you'll find we'll see him jump up in the order dramatically, because Sam's only just gapping him. But judging by his sector times, he's not in a bad spot, so we should actually see him jump up. So he's P20 at the moment, and all going well, we should see him progress a little bit further as well too. But it's going to take a couple of laps for him to get his eye, and you can sort of see him turning the car in. Straight away, the car's quite light in the rear, and he's having to use quite a bit of opposite lock. So as he learns the balance in the car through the night, that'll be good to watch. So obviously, end of session there, team. And Sam Dunstall P1, no surprise there. Alex Purley P3, P2, Zach Blinko P3. Young Hayden Baccaris out of Auckland there, P4, fantastic effort by him, the junior Max driver there. Braden Snowden in there, P5, the senior Max driver out of Whangarei, Paul Dowdle, and Corey Green there, P7, good to see him. And then Nathan Krang out of Auckland, the junior Max driver there as well, running out of the NZ Motorsport, the Dan Bray stables. So, and young Aston Phipps there in 9. So, and good to see Travis Smith, one of our web hosts, helping us out with our KartSport there in P10 there. So, really cool.
Yeah, really neat to see that. So, really interesting to see if anyone can actually, pluck themselves up to that top 10 in these final laps. Looks like Aaron Harris. But really looking forward to seeing who is actually going to make it into this top server tonight. Yeah, we've got a few different servers going. I saw guys like Paul Blomqvist and a few other guys were in a practice before. So they'll be running in a different server, and I'm sure we'll have those results for you soon. But there we go. Our super close once again, obviously a really good margin there for Sam, but then from second, even right the way back to 10th, only half a second. And I think, in these little Mazdas, it's really easy to actually lose time, to gain little time as well. Just simple things by carrying that momentum.
Yeah, obviously it's going to be really exciting to see once we get that full grid lined up. Obviously the first race is going to be a 12-lap journey for us, and then the second race with the 24-lap reverse grid. So with that reverse grid, it gives the drivers who are staying at the back of the field plenty of opportunity to make their way through the field, hopefully minus some carnage on the way that we see generally on the virtual racing scene as well. So we'll see how Sam Dunstall's 1013 lines up against the other servers. I'm sure it's going to be pretty hard to beat. And I know Sam's been doing a lot of laps on this MX5 iRacing series.
Yeah, how good is the iRacing platform where we can have, obviously when we're racing, for real, actually on an actual racetrack, we're obviously limited to numbers, but when you can have several servers going, we can have a number of different groups running, and then we can bring them all together. So, as we said, it'd be interesting to see once we mix all the servers back together, see whose name pops up. No doubt the likes of Paul Blomqvist.
It looks like we may have just lost Tony there, but the few names obviously that we haven't seen us over, obviously Ryan Wood, obviously one of our leading guys from the past few weeks. Been interested to obviously Cameron Dance, Jaden Ransley has been fast, didn't have a good week last week, and a few names there. So we're just going to to sort it out, but we can already see Discord channel that guys are already itching to get back out of there, asking how long to get to the race. So lots of enthusiasm there from the younger guys. But Dave, you were just mentioning that you guys were back at the kart track this weekend. I think there was a few people here in New Zealand back at the kart track as well.
Yeah, that's right. So Tiff's going to tell us a little bit about how her first experience was back at the track and how things are looking in the next couple of weeks as well, Tiff.
Yeah, so KartSport New Zealand and all the clubs have been doing really well. Obviously a little bit short notice when we open for level 2, and like we've been saying, just knowing what they're allowed to do and the restrictions. So they were actually allowed, so it's groups of 10. You register as you go to the track, and they have apps. Really well done. And I saw a lot of the kids that both just club level, but also I know some of the kids that are racing over in Australia were also out testing, obviously just in case that the bubble gets a little bit bigger. So I know that Louis Sharp and Jacob Douglas, they were all testing, and also so KartSport Hamilton was open, KartSport Canterbury, and also Hawke's Bay, I think. So yes, really good to see everyone back out on the track. But just make sure, also important to note that we've not got long left on our auction, the charity auction. So Tony Hurst, we spoke to him last weekend. He's given us some return ferry tickets. So the value is $600 plus, and the current bid's just over 400. So, and the tickets are valid for 12 months. So obviously with uncertainty, don't worry about bidding on those because they are valid for 12 months. So head over to the KartSport New Zealand Facebook page, and the Trade Me link is on there.
That's a really good point there, Tiff. Obviously, last week, big thanks to Tony Hurst and Cook Strait Crossing. A really well trusted name throughout I know the scenes. So you can always count on him to look after you dollars wise, but I think you could also count up until the last minute. So jump over to Trade Me. The link as well, if you can't find that, is going to be on the KartSport New Zealand Facebook page. So we go on there, support those at us. So great to hear that about the kart track as well. Really interesting, the feedback about the apps as well, Tiff, about how you can access the karts. Everyone's going to be itching to get back on their go karts. So great to see everyone's been really about going out there, making sure they're all practicing safer distancing. Because Dave, I mean that's the crucial thing at the moment, isn't it? Obviously, we do know karting is a non-contact sport, but many of the guys probably don't believe it's a non-contact sport. So if we can do it on the circuit, they'll.
Yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see how people go from the virtual racing scene to the actual real racing scene as well, because we know that if you have some damage on the iRacing scene, you can just click escape and you can just redo it again, restart. So I reckon a few kids will have adrenaline, sort of bottled up, ready to go and hit the kart track. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle those first couple of days back at the racetrack. I'm sure these kids got a lot of energy to sort of expel and really a lot of excitement getting back into the kart racing scene.
Yeah,
It'll be really interesting to see if they could take anything from the iRacing world, virtual world, and try translate. Obviously, there's going to be racecraft, but see if there's some techniques, good or bad. Be interesting to see in a few weeks if we can talk to some of these karters who have been in the go kart, and see if they can tell us on the stream for everyone, what they've learned, what's worked well for them, and maybe some things that haven't worked well for them, so that we could pass it on to other karters or motorsport.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, try and stay active within our KartSport New Zealand Facebook live stream as well. So any questions as well, please shoot them through. We're happy to answer them along the way, whether it's just cheering your friends or family on tonight, or if you've even got some questions to try and ask Tony, Tiff, Simon, or myself as well. So here to help you in this downtime as well and try and keep things nice and exciting.
Good. Looks like we may have TC back. He's on dial-up internet down in the there. You back with us now?
Yeah, sorry guys. I just it's one of those nights. I think I've got the heater on too hot and my modem's overheating, so I'm just having a few issues today. But sorry, fellas, if I missed, if you were talking about me, I didn't hear it, so that's probably a bonus.
No, we're just still talking all positive things about you, Tony. So just normal things that we guys, not too far away now. We'll be having the servers up here with us. There's a whole lot of people out there itching to get going. But Dave, you tell us more about your Trading Paints podcast. Obviously, you've been talking to more drivers. There's a few more lined up.
Yeah, so in the last week, I was fortunate enough to speak to one of New Zealand's most successful car racers, Earl Bamber. So, two-time Le Mans 24-hour winner, a New Zealand karting champion as well. Very successful in every category he's been into. So, it was obviously really cool to hear about how he sort of started in motorsport. Sort of just driving around at his local house to sort of begin with, and then obviously being mates with Brendan Hartley at a very young age in the kart racing scene. To he started off actually in his go kart, to then winning the Le Mans 24-hour race within one day. So really exciting to be able to speak to so many successful New Zealand drivers as well as Formula One drivers as well. So in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have Chaz Mostert from the Walkinshaw Andretti team joining us. We're going to have David Reynolds from the Pennant Racing team as well. He's always a good laugh as well. So so try and stay tuned to the Swapping Paint podcast.
Yeah, it's been great, Dave. I've sort of been keeping an eye on it, and when I know when it's coming on, and watched Earl's interview, that was really, really good. And I suppose for us, we probably take Earl for granted a little bit. He's just sort of someone that we grew up watching, and he's also sort of one of our colleagues at Downforce, so we get to work with Earl on the odd occasion. And to us, he's just Earl. But when you sort of look at his list of achievements and what he's done, it's absolutely amazing. And certainly there's certain broadcasters here in New Zealand they sort of don't recognise motorsport enough. And it's when you've got guys like Earl, and there's a massive list. You're always going to forget someone when you do try and list overseas drivers. But they've all been very successful at their craft and don't get the recognition that they really do from certainly New Zealand media. So, but yeah, by all means, your Swapping Paint's been really good to watch, and I'll be watching Dave's one when he jumps on. Davey Reynolds. He's certainly a character. We know Davey really well, and there'll certainly be a bit of humour. I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't swear too much because actually quite a few kids that tune in as well. So, like I said, he's a very funny guy. You sort of either love him or hate him for his personality and his attitude, but he's cool to have in the sport. You can't have sort of 22 of the same drivers on the grid as well. You need to have some light-hearted people as well, some serious people to bounce off each other, and that's what creates the great entertainment that we see from TV.
Yeah, that's right. We all need a David Reynolds in our lives, most definitely. So we can't be too far away from kicking off their team. As Simon said, we've got a number of different servers that we're gelling together to get our grid for our first race, and then obviously that'll go on to our reverse grid second race. So 12 laps the heat distance for heat 1 tonight, their team, and then 24 laps the heat distance for the final. So some people think, 24 laps, it's too long, but remember, it's only a very short lap there, team. So we sort of base it probably on the old sort of CIK style of things. If we've got a short lap, the finals are generally quite long. So certainly tonight at Lime Rock, we've got a nice long 24-lap final for you there. So looking forward to this, team. Be good.
Yeah, it's going to be super cool. So both races as well, Tony, they're going to be standing starts. So there is the option for starts or standing starts in iRacing. We're going to be going ahead with the standing starts. Everyone will actually have 3 fast repairs in each race. So that's in the Cup lightning flag back out on the circuit. Remember last week we those the incident points as well. So at 20 incident points, you're going to be getting a penalty. So 40, you're going to be getting a DQ. So you're going to 24 lap race, 20 incident points. If you get a car contact or drop a wheel off, it's going to be those up there. On a 24 lap race. There's obviously quick math. It's less than 1 a lap, Dave. So that's going to be you can easily get 4 or 5 on, and then you're going to be on the back foot for the rest of the race.
Mate, is there any cheat codes so you can get a couple more incident points? Because I don't think 20 is enough for a 24-lap race.
It's not Call of Duty, mate.
I don't know. We have to look into it. I'm sure someone out there has found a little hack for it, or. But let's see if we can keep the guys off it, because all we want is some good, hard, solid racing tonight. And we're not too far away from the just a bit of a warm-up session here for the guys. So we've got everyone into the servers. Conditions are only about 15 seconds away now.
Yeah, be interesting to see who comes out on top tonight, because, like I said, Ryan Wood has been a star of this iRacing series at the moment. He hasn't been, he has had his work cut out from guys like Corey Green. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how they actually line up after the qualifying session takes place as well. So really excited to see the first 12-lap race take place. Obviously, big thanks goes out to Liquid Action as well for helping sponsor this SimSpeed TV telecast that we're watching.
Yeah, most definitely. We wouldn't be able to do it without our sponsors, so thanks to Liquid Action, Cook Straight Crossings, and our normal partners. So we have our first heat grid races here, team. Grid 1, Sam Dunstall out of the pole there. Ben Stewart, the Wellington driver, out of grid 2. Good to see him back. Alex Purley, grid 3. Zach Blinko, P4. Stephen Beaumont, P5. Ed Williams, the Cambridge driver, in P6. He's supported by Chris Vanderdrift and Veloci karting with his actual karting, so good to see he's doing a good job. Hayden Baccaris had a P7. Daniel Hall, P8. Blake Knowles, good to see him back again this evening, P9. And Liam Spark there in P10, I think it was, sorry. So all ready for a start here, Simon?
Yep, all ready for the start. We're just waiting for the lights, and we're out now. So really clean start there as we make our way down to turn 1. So jumping to the outside, a heavy break into turn 1, so you shouldn't be seeing too many dives, but turn 2 or the chicane is where we're going to see a bit of a concertina effect. But so far, Dave, looks like a pretty opening sequence at corners.
Yeah, for sure. So Sam Dunstall's got the, as we see Hayden Backrace have a massive spin coming through the S's here. He's actually, unfortunately, had a bit of contact with a few other cars. So we're seeing a bit of action unfolding. Arthur Browan's actually one of the unlucky drivers from that sequence of events. But as I was saying earlier, Sam Dunstall got the early jump. Now it's all about just trying to break that slipstream from Alex Pearley and Ben Stewart as well in third. So same sort of front runners as what we've seen in the last couple of weeks as well. Let's just see if Sam Dunstall can actually break away from this chasing pack.
Yeah, that's right. We take a look at our Carter's tyres leaderboard there on the left-hand side. Big shame for young Hayden Backrace. He was a fairway up the field, so it's that's put a bit of a dire effort to his first heat efforts there. So because he was probably on for a good finish as we jump back on the leading pack here. So this is what we've become familiar with their team. This is classic pack racing with the MX-5s here. So Sam Dunstall sort of running a little bit wide there through the left hand, and that's made the right hander tight. And it's always about thinking 2 or 3 corners ahead, especially with someone like this. And through the ever important chicane, so you don't want to turn into it there. Certainly the first left in the chicane is probably the one that you want to grab quite a bit of curb, and then try and straighten the wheel up as quick as you can for that long, flat uphill run that Simon was talking about earlier on. And as we mentioned, some really cool liveries there in our top chasing pack here side.
Yeah, obviously Ben Stewart, sponsored by Family Guy this week. Stewart's on board, but it's really interesting. You actually saw him, check up, a little bit early and really concentrate on getting the chicane. He's actually got a really good run up. But lap 2, fastest lap by Sam Dunstall there, so it looks like, but he's definitely not getting away there. But oops, we've got pulled out a bit of a come together. Didn't quite catch who it was, but hey. You've got to remember, we've got the reverse grid race coming up, but we've got the motion simulation replay. Really good run down, drops a wheel onto the front straight there. And he's just kept his foot hard in it all the way down, but just can't quite get to the inside. But can't see what's happening here. Oh no! We've had a car come out of the pits, and classic scenario, car moved out and just it's Taranaki driver Brad still, so watch us again on board, just doing the right thing here. But it's what's gonna get happen, and sometimes with pack racing, just someone moves out last minute, the car behind is just so vulnerable there. So bit of a shame for those guys involved, just a racing incident. But back to the lead here, Dave. Ben Stewart here, sure on to Sam Dunstall.
He's doing a good job, Benny Stewart. He's like I said, he's not letting Sam Dunstall get away here in first place. As Tony was saying earlier, the MX-5 produces that really close racing. It's all about the smooth driving, the slower in, faster out sort of sequence of events. So, like I said, the top 3 are just starting to break away from Stephen Beaumont, who's actually running a nice livery there by the looks of it. It's a nice green colour, so he's supporting the Sarah Cards there. So big thanks to Stephen Beaumont. I think last week he had a Patrici course livery on, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he's certainly playing the field, and he's cycling through the sticker kits like it's no tomorrow. And I'm not sure if he's paying his sticker kit bill, but they're not cheap. So, but he's certainly stumbled on a good one for this week. So, really good looking livery as he drops a wheel off through the long right hander as we make our way down the main straight. Obviously, Stephen Beaumont still running in P3 there. Just a little over a second and a half. We've got some cars cycling out of the pits. Hopefully no one does a Brad Still and ends up parking themselves in front of 3 cars and causing a massive accident. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, Sam, our leader, only by 3 tenths, a really, really small margin. But even as you go down just through that top 10, there are only sort of 7 seconds separating that top 10, which isn't a massive amount. Sounds like a lot when you actually put it into a numerical number, but not a massive amount there considering we've got quite a few new drivers that haven't been doing the regular evenings so far. So,
yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. But but short track means we're already on to lap 5. So really, really fast, close racing so far. Ben Stewart did the fastest lap on the last race, on the last lap, to pull away now. But it'll be interesting to see. Tyres will slowly start to get off. So although you want to push, you want to to obviously manage that as well. With Sam Dunstall replies with a 1:01.5. So actually not too fast, through the race, lap 6. To be only a couple of tenths off your qualifying space is really good. But as we jump on board here with Blake Doles, and he's having a good battle here with Hall, just missed his apex slightly, might be a little bit vulnerable here. But this is going to be a really interesting scenario. Do you have a dive here at the chicane, or do you back it off and then try and get a good run up through here and try actually lunge him into turn 1? So you get quite a few corners ahead here, Dave, and position yourself back a little bit and try get that toe all the way down the front straight.
Yeah, so it looks like obviously on board with Daniel Hall going into the corner too fast into the chicane, then losing out on that exit. So now he's missed out an opportunity to pass down the front straight. Now the Lime Rock Park it's a nice tight sort of circuit, but unfortunately it's quite hard to pass. So you've got to try and set yourself up, like you were saying, a couple of corners in advance as well. So these are the sort of things you can take away even when you get back into the car. Is trying to set these passes up a couple of corners in advance, because that chicane's going to be quite hard to pass. It's probably going to be a lot safer and easier to pass at turn 1.
Yep, definitely agree with that there, Dave. It's sort of, the track does funnel to the right as you get into the chicane, so the track effectively narrows down, as you can see, and it is going to be quite a hard pass. And if you try and do a pass there with minimal contact, I guarantee someone's going to probably have a door hanging off their MX-5. So best to bide your time through there. Concentrate on getting a really good drive out of that chicane, because it's easy for the car in front to turn into it, get the curb on the right hand side, then get heaps of curb on the left, and that's really going to hurt their run up the hill. So as we on the chase cam at a Sam Dunstall out of his rear bumper, and he's got young Benny Stewart, the Wellington driver, all over him. So Sam, I wouldn't say he's been defensive, but he's turned in reasonably early there. Obviously a big long double apex there. You can see he's used a lot of the apron on the exit. And that's all come from his entry. He's trying to keep the car narrow, keep the distance down. You can see he's using up a lot more real estate as they exit the turn, using heaps of the aprons. So he might be quicker going in, but Ben's certainly making some distance on him on exit, because he's actually using up this track there, Simon.
Yeah, you're bang on the money there, Tony. Even because it's all about momentum in these cars. So even rolling Howard inside, just to show, hey, and it sort of shuts Benny Stewart out a bit, but it's just make sure they're a little bit more vulnerable on the exit. He's had a really good run through the chicane here. So Ben just got a bit of curb on the first right-hander, but I don't think we've still got 3 laps to go here. He just needs to make sure that when he does do his move, he makes it once and makes it proper. His only chance.
For sure, and it's actually pretty cool to see Benny Stewart's livery if we get a chance. Looks like he's got the Family Guy livery. He's got Stewie Griffin on the bonnet. So I'm not sure if that's his favourite TV show, but like I said, this big head sort of be putting off Sam Dunstall as he's looking in his rear vision mirror.
And Sam's gone really, really defensive into the chicane, and you'll start to see that momentum loss as we start to climb the hill that you mentioned about, Simon. So as we said, Sam's going to be flat out looking in the mirror. He needs to keep the eyes forward, not worrying about Family Guy tonight. You can watch that on delayed once he's finished racing on iRacing tonight, Simon.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But this could be a plan, though. Does he want to back into Alex Purley? That could be, the hardest thing to do in a race is actually at the same time, and that might help him get away. And it just looks like that's exactly what he's trying to do. And if they're not careful, we might drag the Sierra 5 up of Stephen Beaumont, and we could have a 4-car battle heading into the last.
Yeah, Sam Dunstall's doing a good job to sort of max the rear width out of that MX-5. It seems to be running from inside to outside quite well. He's not doing anything illegally. He's just sort of trying to cover his backside a little bit to, sort of minimise the opportunity for Ben to have a look now. But unfortunately, that defensive line, he's killed his momentum. So now he's going to have to try and defend on this last corner. He's going to have to try and jeopardise being switched back down this front straight now.
I tell you what, Benny Stewart's driving a very, very clean race behind him. We touched on it briefly last week about sending people, and I'd say probably if he had some of them old sort of more wiser, older heads behind him, they probably would have gone to the back of him. But Ben's a nice, calm young driver, doing a really good job as Sam runs narrow down into turn one. Big, long double right. We'll see how much of the apron he's got to use on the exit. You can see he drops the two left-hand side wheels and the exit of the on the double right there. As we start to climb back up the hill, Sam, trying to really shorten that distance down that he's travelling, but it's really hurting him because he's got to keep that long radius as he comes off the turn and keep turning the car, whereas Ben's got the wheel straighter early on as he exits the turn. As we climb the hill there, up into the last couple of corners here, Simon.
Yeah, it's all going to be on for love money, isn't it? This last lap. To be honest, I think he's in a great position here to catch that draft. He's just far enough to back that you actually get really good. You go out wide and try actually sneak it in on that second corner there. But it's going to be really, really interesting. And if these two come together, it's going to be this MX-5 come through. Just doesn't quite have snuff into the suit, Dave.
No, and it's been, like you said, patience has been the virtue of Benny Stewart. He's been trying to sort of set himself up. Unfortunately, he's probably left it a little bit too late in this race one. Jimmy Dunstall's just opened up that gap to over half a second now. So with only a few corners remaining and sort of main pass opportunity out the window now, it looks like this top three is going to stay as it is. But a great job by Sam Dunstall. He sort of dictated things from the opening get-go. He hasn't put a foot wrong. He had to drive defensive for a couple of corners there, but ultimately he's put himself in the best position.
Yeah, Sam Dunstall's really pinned the ears back, hadn't he? As we come down the final straight here for the last time there, well-deserved winner from green flag to checkered flag. Sam Dunstall is your winner tonight. Benny Stewart in P2 really dropped off on that last lap. Not sure if he had a little bit of a moment or he might have just rolled out of it and actually worried about looking after his second position. But good job by those two, and some really impressive efforts by all drivers considered. We had a few new ones as they all start to go a bit mental on the close down lap there. So really, really cool race, and looking forward to our full reverse grid race for the 24 laps there, Simon.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, if we've got another close race like this, it's going to be super interesting to come forward. But we're on the motion simulation. As I did wonder what happened to Alex Pillay there. Just got tagged by Stephen Beaumont heading into that final corner. So really there, didn't quite get a good look to see if it was a racing incident or not. Yeah, there. But the bonus for the next race, he starts that one, place further to the front. But you always want to be on the podium spraying that chocolate fish. But here's our top 10. So that Stan Dunstall, great pressured him the whole way. Stephen Beaumont ran out the podium.
No, good effort, obviously, by the top three. I'll back Stephen Beaumont in saying there wasn't much in that incident. I'm only just trying to look out for my Sarah Karts friends out there. But look, obviously, Alex Pearley now starting behind Stephen Beaumont. If he did get tagged, he can get one back on him in the next race. He's got 24 opportunities to get him back.
Yeah, that's right. So obviously got our top 10 there. So, a few familiar names. Corey Green there, P7. So didn't really do a whole lot, Corey. Started P7, finished P7. And obviously a nice tidy race there, 9 seconds off the lead. Blake Knowles, P8, going back down through our top 10 there. And obviously back down from 11th through to 20. Braden Snowden started a fair way out back, and he's finished up in position 20. So must have got caught up in some first lap damage there. Obviously finishing one lap down, but plenty of familiar names there. Liam Pink there, P17. P16 for young Evan Williams, bit of a shame because he started, as we said, inside the top 6. Jensen Bate, the Palmerston North driver, Simon Burling-Claridge. There's our steward. Great to see Simon back running out of Wellington there. Matt Anderson, 13. Greg McLenderson Burrow in 12, and our fellow web streamer here, Travis Smith, obviously helping with the stream here tonight and also driving himself. So busy boy tonight there, Travis. Really cool race to kick off with, Simon.
Yep, yeah, super cool. And I think we're definitely going to be in for an action now. So rolling back into the outside the top 20, got pulled out, or we obviously saw him get caught up with that incident in the race. Dan Patrick Wilson, Isaac Fletcher, young Ashton Phillips there, 25th, 2 laps down. So obviously a lot of these guys obviously had issues earlier on in the race, probably come in for before they got back out there. Yeah. Mitchell Sparrow, Timothy Seeley, Brad Still. We saw him instant party there, trying to do the right thing, come out caught up. Arthur Browan and Mr. Scott in round out the top 37 laps down. So he obviously had a few issues there, but his fault or not, at least he's in that top server, and he'll be near the front for the next race. You mentioned, Tony, about obviously our officials jumping in, so doing a great job. Dave, I believe you've got a certificate now. You're going to be jumping on the other side of the fence for once.
Yeah, well, I thought at least this way, if I become a steward, I can actually race, take people out, and then just let myself off. So I thought that was probably the safest way for me going forward. No. We're just trying to obviously get some new blood coming through the sport. Obviously, a big thanks goes out to all the volunteers who, sort of donate their time to allow us to go and compete at the racetrack as well. So we thought during this COVID, virus would be a great opportunity for some of the next generation to sort of step up to the plate and help the guys go racing as well. So, like I said, from an official's point of view, it's a very, very basic one that I've just started in. You have to start as a grade 4. I think that just sort of allows you to run the grids, run the scales and things like that. To be honest, I didn't really read the multiple choice questions too hard. I got a few wrong along the way. So go easy on me next time we get the rule book out. But it's just to try and get more cars on the circuit and just to help out where possible.
Yeah, that's cool, Dave. And we can never get enough volunteers. And as we'd mentioned previously through our other KartSport nights, that we've had in excess of 40 new officials go through some online training over our COVID lockdown here in New Zealand. So it's great to see some new blood coming through, and like yourself with the KA in Australia as well. That's great. And we've been racing around kart tracks. A lot of us, like yourself and Tiff and myself, have been around the sport for 25, 30 years, and we wouldn't have been able to compete in that sport and make a hobby and a lifestyle out of it without people on the outgrid, weighing our karts when we come in and waving flags when we're out on the track. So that's what makes the sport. So that's really, really cool to see, mate. So thanks on behalf of all the drivers, I suppose, goes Dave. Well done.
No, thank you. Like I said, it's looking forward to getting back out there. I'll be, like I said, helping out more on a practice day sort of thing, because with this virus now, they've sort of forced us into having officials there for practice days as well. So even if I'm not coaching, I can sort of lend my time to get people out in the racetrack wherever possible. And like I said, just play a small part, because, like I said, it takes a lot of volunteers to get this sport going. And like I said, I'm sure KartSport New Zealand has, we've seen over 50 people sign up straight away to their officials training and stuff like that during this unprecedented period.
Unprecedented. Yeah. That's a word that I haven't heard much in the last 6 weeks. That'd be the first time I've heard that. Unprecedented. I'm sure that hasn't been used too much. So, but no, that's very cool. So we won't be too far away from seeing our full reverse grid list, and then we'll be whipping into our 24-lap reverse grid finals. So, how are we going in our little social media hub there, Tiff? Any exciting stuff to come through?
Well, there's actually not too much. Everyone's staying quite quiet on the Facebook, but you should hear the excuses coming from some of the drivers on the Discord. It's quite funny. But I do have, remember, there are more servers racing, about 5 servers, I think. So I've got some results from the other server. So P1 on the other server was Kieran Woods. He's from Christchurch, I believe. And then Shane Olsen. Ollie Workman with his steering wheel now, so he's moved up from the keyboard and he's got on the podium in that race. And then P5, in fact, it says Shane McLaren, who is actually the club president at Christchurch Kart Club, but I think that might be his son Jack. So some big names there in the other servers, and a couple of people asking about Ryan Wood. Obviously, he's been performing really well over the last couple of weeks, but he's having a week off, I think. So he's not actually racing this week, sorry. But also just to note, we're talking about Carter's actually getting back on track, and Blake Knowles, who you mentioned a couple of times in that last race, he actually was testing out on the real tracks on Saturday and Sunday. So good to see that he's not only got back on the real tracks, but he's also continuing the KartSport League 2.
That's fantastic that we're getting, like I said, drivers back into the seat of a kart. Obviously, still honing their skills midweek with this iRacing KartSport series as well. So it's something that's lighthearted. Obviously, a few of them take it quite competitively where they can, but it's great to see, sort of like you said, guys who can race VMR, can race against senior drivers, and even we're getting guys who are in different forms of motorsport still coming to compete on a Tuesday night as well. So I think the change of date has worked quite well. Now that we're getting some karts back on the track, and it allows some people to get over their practice sessions over across the weekend and then have some fun during the midweek.
Yeah, guys, and the other thing as well is obviously moving forward as well for anyone that's on the iKartSport page. We've actually got a bit of a poll moving forward as well, just to see what everyone's up to, see what they want to do. We want to make sure that everyone else is out there is enjoying it. So jump on, quick little poll just about some what you'd prefer moving forward, and whether we stick with the Mazda MX-5s, or if we actually go to some paid content. There's some cool cars like Audi RS3s, Barbers, and then do some other circuits. So for those who can, jump over to the iKartSport Facebook group, chuck your vote, because we want to make sure that we're pleasing you guys as well. I think it's been really good. The MX-5 is obviously so far has been the most exciting, and it's previously super close karting, so racing just like karting does. So really looking forward to the race. I mean, reverse grid races we don't often actually see in karting, so maybe that's something we could look at moving forward, because how good would that be? Have you ever done any racing like that, Dave or Tony? Reverse.
Yeah, look, most of the racing used to be reverse grid, and I think it's great for club level racing as well, because it's all good and well practicing by yourself and being the fastest driver on the track, but as soon as you get around some other karts, you don't know how to get around them as well. So I think it's kind of cool to try and implement the reverse grid racing. It allows drivers to be able to pass. Like I said, it's a bit nerve-wracking having your first pole position if you're only a newcomer as well, but you learn to deal with those challenges on the way and get some help.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Dave. And depending on your different circuits, learn other races and more racecraft, learn other drivers as well is probably quite key. Is even if you pick up one little thing, I suppose that you're beneficial for it. But it's also such a lottery as well. Who can get a clean first lap, who doesn't, and that. So that's what makes these so exciting. They do it at Speedway out here once a year. I think it's the Barry Butterworth Memorial, and such an exciting race at Springs. Fastest guys off the back, and they're all trying to come through, and it always makes for some pretty intense battles on those last few laps for those fast guys finally getting up there, up to the.
Yeah, 100%. And also, obviously, the way that most of our racing is done these days with qualifying, you've got the fastest drivers at the front, and obviously working way down to the slower drivers. So obviously, once the green light goes, it's hard for those slower drivers to be able to keep up. So with the reverse grid, it allows those guys to have an opportunity to, once the fast car gets around them, to try and learn off them a little bit more, and that can actually speed up their progress as well. So I think that's kind of important as well to look forward to.
Yeah, as those faster drivers come through, the slower drivers that they're picking off can if they're going to use their head, they can follow those faster drivers, pick up on their lines, and actually probably stop out braking themselves. We talk about that moving braking marker all the time. Let that person in front of you, don't catch them too much under brakes. Just use them as that braking marker, and hopefully our newer drivers will be all better for the experience.
Yeah, it looks like Tiff, you have got the winner of our first auction tonight. Is that correct?
I do, yep. So the first auction's finished. There's another one still up, but the first one's been won or been bought by D Workman. So the Workman's, that's Ollie's mum. She's heavily involved with racing. She's actually on the KartSport executive, does a lot for the sport, and another really good example of a family that, you know, just loves the sport. They live in Nelson, and they make really good effort on traveling. I think they did the City of Sales this year, so they traveled all the way up to Auckland for the City of Sales meeting. Ollie's just moved up to juniors, so they're trying to get him as much experience as they can. So yeah, massive thank you to the Workman family for bidding on those ferry tickets, and again, thank you to Tony Hurst for those tickets.
Yeah, for sure. It's really cool to see, obviously, the New Zealand companies coming on board the iRacing KartSport series as well to lend a hand to the karting community as well. So big thanks goes out to Tony Hurst. Obviously, we really appreciate his efforts as well. And obviously, once you guys need to go from the North to South Island or vice versa, you can try and support those guys who are trying to support our industry as well. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a fantastic prize and auction to win, and extremely good value for money there too, Dave. So well done to the Workmans. No doubt they'll be utilising that to travel up north once we can get underway. So just a little under 4 minutes till we kick off their team, and saw it, and we're just going to go to a quick break before we get into our 24-lap feature their team.
The latest Cool Cars is now on Giltrap.com as the Porsche Taycan chases the EV Crown, which of this week's Cool Cars seduced Jay Leno and the taxi driver who went from our backyard to winning at the Brickyard. It's all just a click away.
Do you want to lead in, Dave? All right, welcome back there, team. Nice short break. Gives everyone a chance to, for those drivers to rehydrate. All the parents to go grab a damp cloth and towel themselves down because they're probably getting all sweaty and excited. So welcome back to the webcast here, team. Already not too far away from our 24-lap reverse grid race. So this is what the evenings and last couple of nights have been leading up to, really. Plenty of people have been running private events and that at Lineblock in the MX-5s. So far, so good tonight, Simon. It's been great viewing. What do you think so far?
Yeah, that first race was really good, wasn't it? A lot of pressure on the whole way. Nice, fair, hard racing as well. So that's what it's all about. So we're just finishing off the warm-up session here. So before each race, and every new server, there's a warm-up session before the race. So that's why that time is in the top left corner for those wondering. So gives anyone the opportunity to go out there, fine-tune it, between races, which is actually quite neat. I think you saw that probably if you're watching the Celebrity eSeries last night. Between the races, guys were going out there and trying stuff, and it's just, I think naturally you just do it, and that's just the competitive nature coming everyone. So not too far away for a grid up here now, and roll through the grid sequence there. So obviously reverse grid. So these guys who had trouble in the first race, up the front. So we've got Paul, we've got Scott, Browan, Brad Still P3, Seeley 4, Mitch Sparrow 5, Ashton Phipps 6, Isaac Fletcher in 7, Aaron Wilson 8, Dan Patrick 9, Dowdle, who we caught at the halfway through the race, rounding out the top 10 on the outside of row 5.
Yeah, we're looking down to rows 6 to 10 as well. So we've got Braden Snowden, Hayden Baccaras, Liam Pink, Eden Williams, Jensen Bate, Simon Burling Claridge. We're about to get the green light here for race 2, and they're away. So nice clean start from the front couple of rows. So far we've got no one airborne, which is what we generally see from the virtual iRacing scene. I spoke too soon.
Oh, curse of the commentators from Dave Serra all the way from Melbourne. He's absolutely torn the field apart, and we've got cars going everywhere. Isaac Fletcher in the 29. And we're struggling to keep up with this. So that's a bit of a shame. They all had a 24 laps, so they didn't need to rush in it too fast. So as we're chasing the Arthur Broom vehicle there, as they head up towards the back side of the circuit there. So P1 at the moment, Timothy Saleh is our leader. Mr. Scott there in second. Ed Williams, the Cambridge driver, P3. And young Hayden Baccaras, P4, Jetson Bate, P5. So a bit of a shame there. A bit of carnage at the start. It certainly does resemble most of the racing stuff we have been watching so far, their team.
Yeah, looks like it's the battle, that action happened right in the middle of our top. So a few names that we've already seen. I've seen Brad Still, for example, there. And look, big shunt here by Liam Pink in the Pink Machine, and it's carried on further down as they run straight in the pits to get that quick repair room. We've got those 3 quick repairs. Very familiar to see a Sarah car with a lot of damage on, especially with Dave Sarah's driving it, and then they'll be into this circuit. But hey, check out the few coronavirus liveries out there too. Look, Jensen Bate there, and also Timothy Seeley in the coronavirus cars up towards the pointy end in this race.
Yeah, look, it's very cool to see a lot of these creative designs that we're accustomed to now in this iRacing league. So from week to week, new designs are coming through, and we're seeing some great change of liveries as well. But at the moment, we've got Timothy Saleh and young Scott in second place, who's running quite wide as they come onto the main straight here. Great job by Eden Williams. Haven't seen him a lot in the iRacing scene, so it's great to see him up in the top 3 currently. And then we're right behind the Junior Max driver in Hayden Baccaras.
So, lap 3 of 24. So we've got a long way to go there, team. But remember, it is a short lap as well too. So it is very much a balancing act. Do you push on, try and make up some position, start getting into people, a little bit of panel damage, get those elbows out, or do you just wait for that fuel to burn off, for that tyre temp to come up, make the most of the tyre temp when it's perfect? Then if you've got any tyre dig, by then you've already made those positions up. As we see going up through the chicane, this has certainly provided us some pretty exciting moments so far this evening on board the back of young Hayden Baccaras there and the black Lascom Motorsport machine there. As we come up down through the downhill section now, MX5 is really starting to build some speed up here on the nose of Arthur Browen here as he follows the COVID-19 vehicle in front and down the front straight, down into the long double right-hand turn 1 and 2, I suppose you could call it. Very similar section like you see over the backside of sort of the Ben Motorsport Park in Adelaide side.
Yeah, we're getting a really good close up of the car in front. He's not exactly, you can see it, stay back 6 feet. It does actually do it at the moment. Mike's giving it here a little bit of a love tap. I've just noticed on the left-hand side, P8, Ben Stewart, really solid first couple of laps there, already up to 8, or not actually too far behind him there in P11. So those guys come from the back row of the grid as to find a way through. But oh no, we've had a bit of a moment here with old Timothy Seeley, and it looks like he might have collected someone there. I just didn't quite catch who that was. Did you, Dave? But got the motion simulation replay. Really nice move there. He catches the curb there, catches both, and looks like, is he going to go defensive? Might just get a bit of netcode. Oh, it just spins on the entry there, so just missed that. But I think that's Hayden Beckeris. Beckeris just caught up and probably didn't quite see him as he was just what they call pinging quite hard. But Sam done right, 103.1. Yeah, looks like he's just on the way in there, Dave.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Hayden. He sort of got involved in someone else's mistake there. So disappointing for Timothy Stillay. He was sort of leading the reverse grid race. He got off to a great start as well. So unfortunate for him, he's dropped back to just outside the top 10 now. But as one person obviously has a fall, Ayrton Williams, the great beneficiary here, he's slotted into the first place. He's running also the Family Guy livery as well. So him and teammate Ben Stewart currently now in position 5. So starting position 30 and now position 5 after only 5 laps.
Yeah, that's a brilliant effort by young Ben. So he's been chipping away. His nose looks nice and clean too. So he's brought that car through with very limited panel damage. It's very easy for someone to turn across your nose in this because obviously the only driving position that you can view from is inside the car. You can't have a rear view actually looking back on the car like a chase cam. So it's very typical for people to cut across your nose and actually get down onto your front bumper. So Ben's done a good job to get through nice and clean. As we see young Braden Snowden getting helped a little bit as we get into the chicane, but he's actually made the right, left, right and actually got the car turned in, even though he actually got a little bit of a helping hand there on turning. So he's done well to gather it up as we follow them up through the fast right-hand corners, up down onto the start-finish straight side.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So lap 6 here, the guys are using all the circuit as well. So you don't want to be doing that too much there, Jensen Bate, because remember, only 24 laps, 20 incident points before you get a penalty. So tact, each contact and that you do get it, but plenty of attitude for a Scar, isn't there? He's definitely pushing on a little bit on the exit. Like it's sort of super long run down into turn 3, but missing these apexes and this front group. You can just see how, you need to be absolutely inch perfect in these cars, and you're fast. Just be a little bit off your line, a little bit off your apex marker, and actually lose a bit of time. So it's going to be really interesting to see if he can move up here, but because they're going to have a few guys catching up. Only Ben Stewart 3.5 seconds off the lead. Poor old Travis Smith, our streamer, didn't catch what's happened here, but he's had a bit of a moment. But Dave, patience is the key here, isn't it?
Yeah, look, obviously as we're on board with our leading drivers, we've got Braden Stone, who's actually a lap down, but not giving in an inch. So unfortunately, he's just getting passed now by Scott. So we needed to try and get that blue flag out nice and early, because unfortunately he's not slow. He's had an early race incident, but he's sort of getting in the way of these leading front drivers, and he's actually trying to make a move back on Scott. He might not know he's a lap down. I'm not too sure there, but if someone can just get a word out to him just to keep some distance between him and the leading drivers, because he could have a big factor in this end result.
Yeah, very much so. It's he's carrying some good pace, so he's not going to be able to get himself his lap back But if he just chips away here, and if a couple of people might sort of get into some strife in front of him, he might actually be able to clear this group. We'll see what happens. So, but it was quite interesting when we had that chase cam earlier on when you were talking, Simon, looking back at young Jensen Bates' car. You can certainly see how forgiving the MX-5 is, because he's actually getting the car and, relatively, sort of out-braking himself. Car's getting quite a big understeer, and he's picking up the throttle quite early, but he's actually still wasn't losing a lot coming off the turn. So the MX-5, the base package itself, can be quite forgiving, as we see he's outbraked himself into the long double right to turn 1, and Arthur Browen's just gone underneath him. So, but just as we said, shows you how forgiving the car can be, where you can carry a little bit too much speed in. You can induce a lot of understeer, but the car can actually still carry relatively good corner speed to get yourself off and not lose too much from the vehicle in front.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, it's interesting, Brandon Stone has actually caught out the leader here, so he's going to actually back, and if I was actually out Ayrton Williams, I'd probably just let him go, because you don't get caught up here, A, in a crash, or B, lose a whole lot of time. So it might be wise of him just to, very carefully, but be clever about it. Just let him slide by, because I'm sure he'll sail off in the distance, because at the day he's not raced. Follow here with Sam Dunstall. Car's looking relatively clean, solid move. Front end here, side of the car. You can see, the carrier in front of him. The front group's right there. So with 14 laps remaining, few cars left. These guys on. Any mistake of these guys, I'm sure he's going to be ready.
No, it's been a really good race. Obviously, Sam Dunstall's got a close eye on Ben Stewart in front. They had the ding-dong battle in race 1. As we can see, Snowden sort of, from what I can gather, he's causing carnage up there, the lapped car. We've seen now Arthur Browen. We've just lost the couple out to the left-hand side of me. I'm not sure who that was. It looks like it was actually Jensen Bate, unfortunately. So both the coronavirus vehicles have actually had some coming together with some other competitors as well. So really unfortunate as well for the other coronavirus car. But as we're seeing now, Arthur Browen, he actually may have taken the race lead. He's been a huge improver over the course of this series.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if we can get a replay and see what happened there. Obviously, Ed Williams has dropped to P5, and I'd say that's a result of some contact up front and ensuing chaos after that. Jensen Bate got caught up in it. As we see our motion simulation replay here, this is going to tell us what happened there, team, as we have our run up into the chicane. So Braden's had a run. He's got the car turned in just enough. He's run wide, and then Eaton's got caught up just on his rear bumper there. And then as they exit, Jensen Bate has gone across the nose of one of the other cars. So as we said, our lap marker certainly came into play there, and all chaos ensued. So a bit of a shame, especially for young Jensen Bate there. He was just chipping away in that lead group there. But the beneficiaries of all of that have been Ben Stewart and Sam Dunstall. And we've had another massive moment there up onto the main straight. It's all gone madness, and we're only 11 laps in, 24 of a 24-lap final, as we jump back on our replay here, Simon.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be really interesting to see what happens here. Looks like it's the lap car once again. Dave, you're an official. Don't know what you'd say about that. It looks like I think Ed Williams has just had enough of him, to be fair.
I think he deserved that.
See you later.
Yeah,
I think many people would have done that in the exact situation, done the exact same. So he's fed up, but it's our two guys from the previous race up at the front here, going hammer, and they've had the rub of the green, haven't they, coming through that field. Those guys just all ran off in front of him. They just sailed straight.
That's right, but you can sort of see that the more experienced drivers as well, they can see when things are going to happen in front of them as well. So some of these younger drivers, Ayrton Williams, Arthur Browen as well, very unfortunate to get involved in those crashes as well, but you're looking at those more experienced guys who are able to pick their way through the field. So as we're saying, these guys started in 29th and 30th and have avoided all the carnage and find themselves now in the front two positions.
And yeah, it's as we go on board the Dan Patrick entry with battling there with Nathan Krang, and it was how good's the replay though. So young Eaton Williams has seen the full red mist, and he's got right underneath. Obviously our lap vehicle there, and he's as you said, he's had an absolute gutsful and got right into the back of him. He's gone full Russell Ingall spec. So, but how good's the simulation replay to show us that as we go back to our leaders there, and Sam Dunstall, Benny Stewart, no surprise there, Si.
No, but to be honest, I was picking they would get to the front, but not, by the halfway point of the race. So credits to them. And it looks like we've had an engine failure here by our fisherman Simon Burling Claridge. So really unfortunate for him. He's going to get a tow back to the pits and have a bit of a tow session. But look, they're still going straight out. Poor old Blake Knowles has had a bit of a serve up the backside, and he's run wide at turn 1, but look, could have been a lot worse. He could have gone onto the grass. Lucky that tarmac was there, but Jensen Bade, so he's dropped all the way back to 18th now. He's obviously come and grabbed one of our fast repairs, but looks like our lap car, Braden Snowden, is still in the thick of it. So he's going to be creating plenty of action for our highlights reel to play with next. But a few engine issues here, so a few boys running close to the edge of the tuning. Maybe we need to get on that low jet and richen it up.
Yeah, it looks like there's a few guys going down gears instead of up gears as they're going out of the corners. Gone the wrong way, it looks like. But unfortunately, Nathan Krang, he's the OKJ driver from New Zealand, NZ Motorsport. Not used to plucking gears by the looks of it, and unfortunately he's just pulled over to the left-hand side of the track. So really unfortunate end for Nathan's evening. And like I said, a lot of modem simulation highlights from Braden Snowden tonight. Not a lot of positivity from his driving, but look, it's great for viewing.
Yeah, it's as we mentioned before, so about the engine failures. When I did run, and you would obviously know you've driven a lot more than me, but having driven the MX-5 on Saturday night for the first time, I did notice with a big heavy downshift, they can lock rears, and obviously with them being a front engine car, they are quite light in the rear. There's actually physically not a lot of weight in the back of the car, so they can lock rears very easily, but the downshift can be very hard on the engine as well too. So I'm suspecting that's where we're probably seeing a lot of the failures come from, Si.
Yeah, I think you're hard on the money. iRacing do such a good job at making it, all the platforms that we use super realistic. The sound, the feel, and even the time modules, they work so hard to get them right. Good job of it. But as we go to our leading pair here, it looks like we're on for a repeat of race 1, but it's just got 7/10 of a second of a lead, so a really nice little cushy margin there for him. But looking back, thinking back to race 1, don't think Ben Stewart's going to let him get away. He's going to fight this right the way to the end, and maybe he's thought of saying, after the race, somewhere where Sam might be a little bit more vulnerable, and he might have a move up his sleeve, which he might surprise us with. But rolling down around just outside the top 10, Tiff, you've got some news about Mitch Sparrow.
Yep, so Mitch Sparrow, actually, his dad has commented, and I think it's Greg, So Greg Sparrow let us know that Mitch only got his racing sim today at 4:30 p.m. So I think they're pretty technical to set up, a lot of work. So obviously they got it ready, and in his first race, he in the main event. So good work, Mitch.
Yeah, really solidity, and running just outside the top 10. But yeah, like in this super competitive virtual club day, to be in that top server first up, really, really impressive. So let's hope he might be able to sneak into the top 10 if guys come together within the final 7 laps of the race, Dave. But looks like we've got another hot pack brewing here. So if we have any lap cars potentially that can create some more carnage for us.
Yeah, this is a good battle here between sort of, from what we're looking at 9th to back. So unless Bradenstone pops up out of nowhere, I think these guys should have a nice clean race. But like I said, Mitchell Sparrow doing a great job for his first night, and we're looking forward to seeing his progress through the remaining 5 or 6 rounds of this championship.
Yeah, that's really cool to see them make the grid as he just gets past on the inside as we go through the fast right-hander underneath the bridge. So it's like being late for Parc Ferme, isn't it, Dave? We know all about that. So they've rushed to Parc Ferme and they've just made it, that being obviously getting their sim set up. And he's managed to draw himself a nice little livery as well too. So that's an awesome effort considering he's racing against seasoned professionals like Paul Blomqvist and those other people which we haven't seen make the main event tonight. So it's a mega effort by them as we start to look back through our margins there, teams. So a little over 1.5 seconds for Sam Dunstall. He's pinned the ears back. He's gone there, team. He's gassing it. Benny Stewart, obviously P2. Mr. Scott there, he's got a reasonably big margin, but we've got some fantastic coverage as we watch Stephen Beaumont all over the back of the Sparrow machine into the chicane. He just gets it pulled up and he makes a good job of it there, Stephen Beaumont, to get through the first tight right of the chicane. It's always hard when you're trying to outbrake someone into pretty much a 90-degree right, then an opening left and right. So he's done a mega job to get the car pulled up as we go through the big long downhill run, as Simon explained to us earlier on in the webcast, explaining our corner by corner. And Stephen Beaumont's really got his ears pinned back in and he's carving through there, Simon.
Yeah, he's really on fire, isn't he? Some really solid moves, making sure that his moves are done really solidly, pronounced. He's there, he's inside, they're not half moves. That's why he's hard to come back up. But oh no, I just have caught up there with a young Mitch Sparrow. He's lost the couple, doing such a good job running, in that 11th spot. But probably a little bit of bonus that's at the back end of the race. But we've got our motion replay here, so as you can see, he's just following nice and close, not doing too much, and he's just had a bit of a look. And just got into the back of that lap car. Looks like his lap car picked up a little bit.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate to see Mitchell get involved in that accident there. He was doing such a great job just to be just on the edge of the top 10 as well. As we're going on board with Matt Anderson, currently in position 4. He's got Daniel Hall hot on his bumper here. It's going to be quite a close tussle for this 4th and 5th position, as we're seeing the coronavirus car late under brakes there as we're on board now with a few of these drivers. Like I said, we're getting to the back end of this race too. The front 2 have cleared out, but they're still eagerly racing here for position 4, 5 and 6.
It's good to see the likes of Matt Anderson there in P4. A couple of names that have been with us for quite a few nights, but obviously haven't qualified well for whatever reason. Or have been involved in accidents sort of in the reverse grid. But when you've got guys like Matt in there just chipping away, maintaining that position, that's a good reward for those guys. And it's really good to see them reaping the benefits of doing more and more laps. And I suppose the main thing is keeping a clean nose and not getting involved in any first or first half a dozen lap incidents. As we get into the obviously 21st lap, we've only got the laps are winding down there, Simon, as we're going along. And Sam Dunstall, that lead over Benny Stewart hasn't grown too much, 1.2, 1.3 seconds, reasonably comfortable for him at the moment, but we'll see what happens. Around that sort of P6, P7, those guys are quite close. They are the battles that we're going to keep an eye on over the next couple of laps, Si.
Yeah, obviously just right on board. Yeah, he's starting to mount a bit of pressure onto Daniel Hall here. He's dropped previously on the front straight, but he's already gone defensive. Whether it's just strategic, trying to get out of the toe or not, but he moves back across to the left-hand side just to get his line right for turn 1, and Blake Knowles got after Browen there as well. So this battle is probably going to heat up in these last couple of laps. You just need to be pinpoint accurate. They've all got a tiny little margin to go too hard on the defensive, or that margin is going to come right down, and they're going to have a pretty intense battle for the last 2 laps. But really, Rob, everyone here has been relatively clean, and that's all what these reverse grid races are about.
Yeah, it's been really good. I think one of the fortunate things for Sammy Dunstall is that Braden Snowden's just left the race, so that's probably the only thing that was going to be looking like halting Sam Dunstall's second victory for the night if Braden Snowden had gotten in the way over the last couple of laps. But we're chasing hard on board here with Daniel Hall. He's holding his position very, very well over Blake Knowles. Like I said, there's another lap car coming into it, so these guys have got to try and pick their spot and just do it once and for all.
Yeah, you're getting down to those last couple of laps. This is where those passes that we talked about need to be very accurate. You don't want to outbrake yourself and actually get into more aggressive battle. If you're going to overpass someone, you need to make that pass very calculated. Under brakes, brake right next to them. Don't brake past them and don't make it half a move. You need to get right inside that B pillar so they can see you and you're not going to come into contact. As we make our run through the chicane on board now with Arthur Brown, some fantastic visuals here as we can see a ding-dong battle going up in front with Blake Knowles and Daniel Hall going absolutely hammer and tongs as we make our way up through the faster section, and we're going to tick off another lap there, team, heading into our final lap.
Yeah, so on a final lap now. I think that battle left is between 4th and 7th, so that's going to be the key battle there. Super tight. That margin at the front is just out to a second and a half now, so don't think Benny Stewart's going to be able to. But Sam Dunstall is obviously a double. Hopefully, I haven't put the jinx on him, but looks like Arthur Brown has just got through Blake Knowles there, and let's see if he can get right onto the back of Daniel Hall here. He's slowed it up to get a good round. There's Sam Dunstall weaving all the circuit. Fantastic job. Not far behind him is Benny Stewart, but here we go. On board Blake Knowles, Arthur Brown. Look down to the line. Can he get the draft? He's lots of curve onto the front straight. Doesn't run off. Really good battle there for that mid pack, Dave.
Yeah, great effort. Like I said, Arthur and Blake Knowles have raced each other throughout some of their earlier days in kart racing as well. So really cool to see them battling out on the kart track and now in the virtual iRacing scene. Full credit goes to Sammy Dunstall here, who's showing off to the MX5 fans who have turned out to Lime Rock Park Raceway tonight. A great effort to qualify fastest, to win race 1 from the pole, and then to storm through the pack from position 30th. And like I said, a great effort from Benny Stewart as well to qualify on the front row and to have 2 second place finishes. It's a fantastic achievement for tonight.
Yeah, that's a mega effort, let alone qualifying P1 and then winning the first race, certainly then coming all the way from the reverse grid off the back, as you said, P30, all the way through to P1 in that 24-lap final as he finishes his little SVG expression session. So we've got our full results list here for you now, their team, up on the screen. So obviously Sammy Dunstall, mega effort there, just by a second as his margin over Ben Stewart. Mr. Scott there in P3, Matt Anderson P4, Daniel Hall P5, Arthur Brown, obviously our Liquid Action sponsor there in P6. Blake Knowles there, always a top performer every night. Good to see him back again this evening. P7, Zach Blinko. Stephen Beaumont in the Sierra Kart livery. And Liam Pink, actually, surprisingly, P10. So a minute off the lead. So obviously he's sort of the first that was on the leadish lap by the look, because we know he did have some big damage there at some stage, Simon.
Yeah, we caught that action there. So great recovery there, Liam Pink, to 8th down the lead lap, but also get a top 10 finish. So back to Brad still in the CLA in 12th, Jensen Bate, Alex Pelaire, Dan Patrick, Nathan Crane, Isaac Fletcher, Paul Dowdle, Ashton Phipps, and Corey Green, all lap down, rounding out the top 20.
So we're going to go across to Tiffany in the social hub. She's going to announce our chocolate fish winners for this evening.
Yeah, guys, so some great racing there. So we've got 5 actual whole boxes of chocolate fish, so not just the one. They'll be able to enjoy these for a while. So the first will go to our winner, that's Sam Dunstall. The second I'm going to give to Mitch Sparrow, just because we've heard how difficult the sim racing is, and he only set his up at 4:30 this afternoon. So Mitch Sparrow will get the next. And I reckon we could give a box to Ollie Workman, and he can eat them on the ferry, because his mum Dee won the raffle for the Cook Strait ticket, ferry ticket. Noel Phipps, he'll get the fourth box, just because he's had the best use of emojis on the chat. There's not been much talk going on, but he's been lively on there. And then probably highly unethical of me, but I'm going to give the last box to Ed Williams for disposing of the lapped car.
It's good, thoroughly deserved for the winners.
No, fantastic, and big
Yeah, I
thanks.
think he channeled his. Oops.
Big thanks to Cadbury, obviously, for coming on board as well too. So for giving us not only 5 boxes, but I think we've got about a pallet of that stuff to give away. So we'll be dispersing that as we go along through the evening's racing their teams. So what an enjoyable night. And I think we're bringing in, was it Sammy Dunt, our winner there for tonight? Perfect. So I think we've got Sam Dunstan on the line. Are you there, Sam?
Yep, I'm here.
Welcome, buddy. Fantastic effort by you tonight. Qualifying P1, winning our first 12-lap heat. And then from the back, mate, grid 30, winning our 24-lap final. Good job. How do you feel?
Yeah, cheers. It was pretty fun. Definitely had a fun night in both races. Got to put congratulations out to Ben as well. I thought he had us in the reverse grid. Felt we managed to.
Yeah, perfect. It was certainly a nice, clean race by the both of you. You know, Benny and yourself done a fantastic, clean job in that first race, and you sort of threaded the needle in the second one and avoided all the carnage and the lap cars coming in amongst it, and kept your nose clean and come away with the win, mate. It's not very often we see someone come completely off the back for a win there. So well done, mate.
Yeah, cheers. It's pretty coolly clean. Ben's was and I thought he was going to give us a bit more of a fight at the end, but yeah, got through. So it's great.
Yeah, no, good job, mate. You're certainly in the zone, and look forward to watching you again next week, mate. Well done, Sam. Thanks for coming along, buddy.
Cheers. I look forward to coming back.
Perfect. All right. So that was Sam Dunstall, our double winner this evening. So a fantastic effort by him. He was certainly in the zone. Great car control, and obviously a little bit of testing this week might have paid off for him there because he kept his nose clean. Did a really good job tonight. So good to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, really classful performance there by him. He just kept his nose clean, but that was the key. And halfway through the race, he found himself in the lead. So interesting to see if he can keep that up next week. I'm really looking forward to seeing what everyone can vote on our poll on the KartSport page to get the feedback about what they want to see and race next week, to try and keep our virtual chocolate fish club day going and keeping the racing nice and tight. Dave, who was your top performer tonight, mate?
Look, obviously it's hard to go past Sam Dunstall, but look, I think Benny Stewart did an amazing job. Like, obviously he raced very, very cleanly throughout both the races. He had some opportunities to pass Sam in the opening race, but he elected to sort of not go easy, but race in a great manner as well. So I think that he's done a great job over the course of these last few weeks. So apart from Sam, I think Benny Stewart's done a great job, and a lot of respect for his fellow racers out there.
Yep, I definitely agree there, David. Nice, clean drive. Didn't get in the back of too many people. Used his head and just chipped away. So fantastic evening of racing from Lime Rock, their team. Certainly wouldn't be possible without our supporters and partners. So big thanks to obviously Liquid Action. They're supporting the 8 weeks of our KartSport series. Tony Hurst, Cook Strait Ferry crossings, Cook Strait crossings. All his details available on the KartSport New Zealand website. If you need to get across that bit of water, no matter what you're driving, what you're towing, how many people you've got with you, give Tony a ring. He'll look after you. And then obviously our normal KartSport New Zealand partners in the form of Giltrap Group. All their dealerships are open and trading within COVID regulations, so getting and support those brands. Their teams support Kiwi businesses, and obviously Carter's Tyres, the Carter's family, big supporters of KartSport New Zealand and our races themselves. As we said, support those Kiwi companies, and let's prop this economy back up, and obviously support your local kart shops so we can all get back to the kart track racing as soon as possible. Great night there, team, and I think that's probably about it.
Yeah, fantastic night. Thanks, guys, and can't wait to be back next week.
No, awesome. Thanks very much, team. We'll see you soon.
Perfect.
Thank you.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness! Half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?